All right, we're live. This is episode 38 of the Deconstruction Podcast, brought to you by Jobtable, the simplest way to grow and manage your construction company. If you're a contractor looking for a software, an affordable software to grow your business with, check out Jobtable, sign up for a 14-day free trial, and check it out. We're going to get right into it today. Today, we have a very special guest on the show. He is one of the most prominent and trusted voices in all of construction. With his direct, no BS, unfiltered insights, he's the host of the #1 construction podcast and has published 750 episodes, including a historical live show. And for that 750th episode, which we all had the privilege of attending and being part of, he's built one of the strongest communities of like-minded individuals in the construction industry. This is the host of the Construction Life podcast, Manny Neves. Welcome to the show.
The man, the myth, the legend. Just getting used to being on your podcast. It's nice to see you on ours.
I know. I was like flattered. I jumped at it when Johny asked me. I was like, yeah, for sure. I want to come on, man.
Yeah, thanp you for being here, man. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
One
you
of the
for
best
inviting,
guys
man.
in the industries. And, again, it was an honor when you said yes. I know we were just in talking and it just came up. But thank you for coming on in such short notice.
Make it happen right away, man. I was missing having conversations because I've only been communicating either through text or like Zoom calls, as you guys probably are aware. I'm so sick and tired of Zoom calls, man. Like I just like the meetings and shit. I don't understand how all the people around here in the studio space, you guys have been here, so you're aware of it. They do that on a daily basis, man. I would just like I can't survive
Not for
that,
you.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like human interaction.
Yeah, 100%. So I go out in the front there and I start, poking and it's like going, yeah, you start talking shit, and they're like, I can't believe you just said that. I was like, what? I don't know. I just left my DeLorean and I just walked right out, and I'm coming from the 80s and 90s when we basically said whatever the hell we wanted to say on our minds, right? And nobody got offended. But nowadays, that's a different ballpark, right?
That's why you're the
That's
best, man. That's how you're the
So
best.
What do you guys want to talk about, man?
well,
Like
you've
free
been off the
range?
airwaves. You've been off the airwaves for quite a bit. What have you been up to?
So, like everyone just assumed that I went on like a sabbatical, or I went away, I went on vacation. I didn't do any of that shit. I was literally like I was getting off the airwaves so then I could actually work on behind the scenes, because there is no team behind TCL. Like you're looking at the individual. It's a multiple version of me, and then and it's been a lot of work, as you guys probably know as well too. It's just there's a lot of inner working going on behind shows and behind things that have to get done. So I needed the break to start having conversations. The unfortunate thing is that Canada is such a economic shithole right now. It's like, I'm having blunt conversations with sponsors and brands and people that you're thinking want to contribute and go back to construction and go, we want to support here, but they're not saying yes. They're just not saying it. It's almost like Canada has become this infected state, this place where nobody wants to be anywhere near it, and they don't want to contribute to any kind of growth. And it's unfortunate, because the reality is that now is the time that we need to get people to step up and defend Canada and basically say Canada is still a viable market. And I'm talking strictly just construction based. Like the reality of construction, sad. It's sad. Those that are working right now, good for you. They probably planted enough seeds to get this work and make them survive through the rest of this year. And people have been asking me, what's 26 going to look like? And I'm like, 10x it to 25. It's going to be worse. I'm just telling you the truth right now. And if you didn't prepare for it, then you're going to have a hard time. And I've also been telling a lot of people, start looking at partnerships, start looking at, some kind of joint efforts. Like if you got good people that you work with, kind of bring them in together and go, listen, guys, why don't we both attack this? Why don't we all get together and work at this? Because at least there's going to be a little bit of that pie for everybody instead of no pie. And then they ask me about 27, and I just say 27 is when it's going to start to turn. And that's the unfortunate thing, is like right now we feel 27 so far away. It's not, man. Like 26 is going to be a blink of an eye, the same way that, look, we're recording right now in September. What is the 10th right now? We all remember January? Like January of 25 was almost yesterday that you're blinking an eye. Like you guys brought up the
That's true.
750 event. That was May. That was 4 months ago
Yeah.
that happened. And that was a blink of an eye. It just disappeared. 26 is going to go fast and 27 is going to be here. And if you're not prepared, then you're going to be struggling. And the unfortunate thing, what I predicted too, it was a shitload of divorces going on. Like a lot of strain on personal relationships, whether they're common law, whether they're actually married. It's just all residual. That's all it is, man. And that's why I get really frustrated with a lot of the brands just being, I'm appreciative that they're being blunt, but I also turn around and I'm like, kiss my ass. Like, if you guys are not willing to help now, I won't give a shit about you guys later, because you guys want to just jump on the train when it's actually moving. You don't want to be a part of anywhere trying to get the train stuck, out of being stuck, right? So it's just, it's been, that's what I've been up to. And the primary thing I mentioned to Johny when we were just talking, when he was nice enough to just check me, like, I want to check in on you. Like a lot of people have been checking in on me, which is very great, right? I'll get a message and I'll like, dude, you want to talk? Let's talk. I was focusing on trying to do a road trip. I was literally trying to take the show, go on a road trip. I wanted to do Canada. We mapped it out. Like, I knew exactly how many days I needed to be out there. I knew how many kilometers was involved. I knew where we were going to make all our stops. I knew everything. We planned everything out. We pitched it to a lot of brands. They all loved it. Nobody wanted to invest in it. And I was like,
what was the reason?
So yeah, do
they
you think
just said,
it's because people are being frugal due to like the state of the economy, or is it just like lack of confidence of where this country is heading and just people are hesitant to invest here anymore?
all the
Like,
above. All the
everything?
above. They don't want to spend any money. When they look at their quarterly statements, when they look at what's growing or what's not growing, or where we're moving, where sales are, where things happening, shit like that, everything is what I consider a flat line with a slight increase. That's all it is, right? And they finally have accepted the fact that they can't contribute looking at the numbers and looking at 25 and then comparing it to 24 and comparing it to 23. They finally realize that they have to look at it at 20 and 21, which is all pre-COVID and COVID bullshit, right? And then they can look at the numbers and go, you know what? Those years that happened after and during COVID, when we were doing really well, that was a spike in the matrix. That's all it was, right? And now they have to go back and go, and we have to compare it to 20 and 21. That's what we have to compare it to. And if we do that, then our numbers are fine. And so the reality is that they don't want to spend any money. They don't want to spend any marketing money. They don't want to do anything. The level of uncertainty in this country is absolutely insane. Like, you guys probably saw, you got one party demanding that the foreign worker program be demolished, right? Which I'm pretty sure every blue collar out there would contribute to a sledgehammer for that to happen, right? But then you've got the leader right now saying, nope, I'm not going to demolish it. I'm going to keep it. But that's actually the one thing that's causing a lot of this shit, right? So it's like, why are we forcing Canada into a situation that's basically continuously contributing to the failure of Canada? Why? We know why they're doing that. They're doing it because they're prepping it to basically take all the eggs into their basket and not eggs into the Canadian basket. That's why they're doing it. And it's sad.
So how do you stop something that's being purposely done? Right? So this is not an oversight. This is not ignorance, right? It's clearly...
It's all by design,
It's
man.
all by
Come
design.
on.
So how do you
You
stop
don't need to
like
be a
that?
conspiracy theorist to fucking understand.
No, I mean,
that.
we're well past that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right? So how do you stop something like that? Right? Is it too far gone?
There's two roads. There's two roads that I watch that, and how you stop this, right? And one is you leave. You leave Canada. You don't fight Goliath. It's as simple as that. And the second road is, the unfortunate thing is that they tested the waters by basically freezing accounts during a peaceful protest on the truckers convoy. They taught Canadians, we'll fuck with your dollar. We'll fuck with your livelihood. We'll fuck with everything. We can control your dollar. We can freeze your accounts. You can do all that shit. Those are the two roads on the table right now. And unfortunately, Canada is not in a place where you can do that. You can't. You either choose and go, fuck it, I'm going to leave, or you can try to fight, and then you're going to get attacked, right? No different than if you're in construction and you want to start a new mousetrap and you want to compete against other players that are in the industry that have been basically sitting back going, you know what, construction is great, we're making a lot of money, we're growing, we're growing every single month over month over month. If you come in with a better mousetrap, you're going to get a knock on the door by the status quo, and they're going to make a slight threat. And then you have to decide, do I want to absorb this threat or do I want to walk away from this threat? And we know what both of those avenues fall under, what happens potentially, right? It's just human. I keep telling everybody, like, listen, when you want to think for yourself, all you got to think about is who benefits as a result of actions that are being taken. And then financially speaking, who's benefiting.
So, man,
Simple as that.
which road are you on? Which road are you on right now?
I'm on the road of, I got to watch out for my own ass. That's where I'm on the road, right? Right now, I'm still in the middle. I've had many conversations with lots of people in construction. I've spoken to people that have left the country. I've heard what they had to say, what they're offering. The bottom line is at some point, when you make $100 and all of a sudden you're left with 33 of it, like at what point do you say I'm done with Canada? Like, it's just, through my research when I was doing dealings, and I've had lots of meetings recently with Minister of Labor, Minister of Education. You get to meet all the stakeholders, you get to meet all the parliamentary assistants, you get to meet a bunch of people that, for the lack of a better word, don't know fuck all about construction. They just don't. They know about politicians and they know about how to handle that side of the world. Like, it's a different breed when it comes to that. I'm not that player, and I've spoken to a lot of people, and obviously a lot of people, including yourselves, you guys have mentioned throw your hat into that mix, and I'm like, I'm not. You're in it to become the villain. I'm not in that shit. Like, I can't. I can only speak one way, right? So I'm never going to be bought, sold, or whatever, right? I can't do that shit. So you start to wonder what the hell's going on. And then I realize by all these conversations I'm having with these people that are younger than footwear that I own or belts that I own, you know what I mean? And even jeans that I own. They're all younger than these people. But when you speak to them within seconds, you realize they don't know shit about construction. They really don't. And all they care about right now is a talking point. As you know, when it comes to politics and construction, everybody latches onto a phrase. And the latest phrase that everyone's latching onto is labor shortage, which is 1,000% full of fucking shit. It's garbage, right? Because the truth of the matter is that if you speak to the union force and if you actually speak to the union, they'll tell you more than half of the workforce is not working. They're not working legitimately. They're not working through legitimate projects that are being filtered through the union forces and getting that. They're still working on side projects, which they should be, because they've got a significant other. They've got kids. They've got people that count on them. So they have to make money. So they're making it technically illegally, but I don't consider it illegal. So when you start speaking to all these people and they're talking about labor shortage, I just tell them, no, it's not.
And as the owner of a plumbing company, anyone listening, I can fact check that, because the amount of calls that I get of people looking for work, especially union workers, it happens consistently and it happens a lot.
From some of the biggest companies as well, like companies that you would have never, ever, like this is our 16th year in business, and I never would have thought I'd be getting calls from, guys that were working at these big, companies, which again, Manny, I don't want to name drop any of them, but like, in the mechanical world, and it's like, okay, my back kind of goes up and it's like, okay, is this like a union plant, trying to turn our company, or is it this bad? And then you call some people that work into that company and it's like, yeah, man, like, we're 450 guys, like, we're only 130 now. Right. And it's like, holy shit, just on the drop of a dime. And like, I just wanted to touch base on what you were saying there, Manny. And I know we spoke about this on the phone, but these people that you're working that are, let's say they're at the forefront of this, whether it's the labor minister or, anybody in government there that doesn't know about construction, like, what does that tell you about, like what our politics is doing to our country, right? Like who are these people? How did they get these jobs? What are the prerequisites for these jobs? And when you got a guy like you who has been in this industry for a long time and knows a ton of people, and like, like we said at the beginning of this, you created this great community. So there's nobody better to speak on this. Like, when you're sitting in these meetings, like, what runs through your head? And, knowing that we're going on this course, like, how is it that it's like we're going on this course and then you go and sit in front of the person who can make a change to make things better, hopefully, like to get it to the top, and you're sitting down and these guys know nothing about construction, Like how does that like how are you feeling in this in these meetings? Like it doesn't it like make you wonder even more on like what the fuck? Like this is the person that's in charge of this?
You gotta trust me, man. I want to get vocal, and I think by the second meeting, I just had to interrupt them because it was almost like this pre-recorded message of being told to me by every single individual. You would meet somebody, you would start talking, and then they would start blanketing this labor shortage conversation piece, right? And then I think by the third or fourth person, I had to interrupt them, and I just basically say, "I'm sorry, but you're wrong." That's not the truth of the matter. The matter is that municipalities are actually stopping construction from starting because a big construction company will look at the numbers and go, listen, if I break ground on this property here, the development fees alone are going to kill my profit. So guess what? That's going to be a piece of dirt for the next few years until the economy turns, right? Or you guys reduce your development fees. So it's the government has become the biggest Peter Paul, and everyone knows about that, right? So they basically have taken their money that they're supposed to spend on developing infrastructure to create this work so then you can build the workforce to start doing these projects. But we can't even do that because they've wasted that money on that, and now they need to pay the people that are not doing anything. So they take the development fees that they're going to collect from a project starting and start paying the people for things that they should not have been paid for. And then you're looking at this going, this is not how you run things. And then you think to yourself, my first thought is I swear, when you start talking to any financial person that wants to be literate and they want to start talking to an advisor and trying to understand where they're wasting their dollars, the first thing they do is they ask them, listen, give me a statement of all your credit cards, all your billing. I want to see where you're spending money. I guarantee you, every single politician will have jars and jars of Vaseline being purchased because that's all they do. They don't do anything other than kiss each other's ass, and then they try to keep their job while they're doing their job. But they don't know how to do their job. And the way that they can fix this, the easiest way, the simplest way, is get on the job site. Get on the job site and then meet Joe Schmo or Jane Schmo or whatever and talk to that tradesperson and ask them on the ground what is going on this job site. Whether
Or
they want to hear the truth or they want to ignore the truth, they need to get on the job site. Simple as
or
that.
or have a prerequisite that in order to get a job like that, you have to have come from the industry, right?
I was speaking to a kid who was 20 years old before a meeting. He saw who I was because that particular day I was wearing a TCL t-shirt, right? So he sees me, knew a little bit about me. We get talking with two other individuals that I was with. He's there with another individual, same age, a girl, and then we start finding out that he's currently studying at Western. He lives, in Rosedale. So then he tries to use big construction words in his first sentence. And I already dismissed him. I'm like, you really don't. But then he started talking to me about how he's already volunteered on a summer job on a job site and I was building fences or some crap like that, right? And I'm like, you really don't understand. And he's basically bottom end of the workforce that's dictating where the construction industry is headed. This individual here. And I'm like going, this is ridiculous. You're obviously only here because of who your parents are, where you live, and who you know. Again, back to the Vaseline, right? And I was just like going, this is not what we need. What we need is people like you guys, people like me, people that are not afraid to fucking pull the Band-Aid off, man.
Yeah.
Like, like what are you going to do? You're just going to let it keep on bleeding over and over and over and over, realize that a Band-Aid is not going to fix this? You're going to need to get sutures in here. You're going to need to put it into a sling. Why don't we just get the truth of the matter? But no, media now and politicians are in bed with each other. It's all about the cool sound bites. And right now, I guess it's going to go on until the end of the year, labor shortage. It's an
Well,
absolute discussed
Well,
topic, right?
I wanted to touch base too on what you were saying there because I know you've created such a great community, right, with the your podcast, and
Yeah.
now that you went to go do something in the industry, and I'm pretty sure a lot of these sponsors and stuff that you went to go talk to try to make things happen, along with probably again government or anybody that you reached out to raise these funds. and how they all kind of, basically said, no, we're not spending the money. Like, how does that make you feel? Because, in the end of it, it's like, from the day I met you, you've always been like a very welcoming. It doesn't matter how small of a company you are or how long you've been in the industry. You're always very welcoming. You're always ready to help people in the industry. But now that it comes time that, hey, man, look, this is what I'm going to do now. Again, I don't know which companies they are. Like I do, but I don't want to name them. But it's like,
I'll
all
name
right.
them.
Well, I'm just saying, right? It's like, look, you wanted to sponsor with me. And now it's like, look, I'm coming to you for some help. And how everybody just kind of, I feel kind of, I don't want to say turn their back, because I get it, right? Like as a company, I understand, like, if you're having a tough year or things are, not on the up and up, is it the time to spend money on, let's just say, advertisements or whatever? But when you've built this relationship on somebody that has said, yeah, you want to spend money, to come onto my show, or you want to advertise on my show, no problem. I'll even give you a couple of like sound bits here and there. But now that you need the help and they're not there to help you, like, how does like does it like change you a little bit? Like, does it make you like really think that, these people that you always felt were going to be there for you are kind of like, where are you now?
You know what it is? It's really simple. It's like you go past the point about, listen, I've been outspoken enough that people will come back and they'll go, listen, we can't advertise with you because you just get a little too vocal, or sometimes your guests get a little too vocal in line with things that we don't believe in. And I'm like, okay, so all you get this pattern going on where you'll speak to somebody. I still stay in touch with everybody. I still send them an email. I'll go, here's another mousetrap, right? And then they have to just do their own internal reply. They have to. Because if it comes back later on and bite them in the ass because something I do worked and then they didn't jump on when they had an opportunity to, then they have to defend their placement, their occupation, right? Otherwise they get fired. That's how you get people just saying you fucked up because you didn't go with this route. So I've gone past that point where it's like what I realized, what all these brands are doing, and I'm not saying that they're all, but I would say 95% of the brands that I've spoken to, and they're all big brands, right? They're all putting a pause on everything. Everything's just being on cruise control right now. They just want to ride the storm. That's all it is. They're all in survival mode, right? What it's taught me is that all this bullshit about them saying we're in it for the contractor, we're in it for the tradespeople, and we're in it for this construction industry in Canada is all bullshit. They're so short-sighted, it's insane. Absolutely insane, right? That they just look at it like, and I don't blame them. They look at it like, I don't know if this new tradesperson is going to be an old tradesperson. I really don't. So I don't know if I want to invest in this new young tradesperson because I'm not sure if they're even going to be here in 10 years. And that's my argument that I always tell when I'm talking to people, and they, like the government people. I brought this up in one of the meetings. I go on, my problem with the industry right now is that it's not about them getting in, it's about them staying. You got a young workforce right now that everyone's trying to hang on to. And the problem is that you don't, and you guys see this, you don't see it in their fucking eyes, man. You don't. Like, I can talk to all you guys. I can talk to clearly all you guys. Look into your eyes, not like I'm on a Tinder date. Look into your eyes and go, you know what? You guys care about construction. You care about your workforce. You care about the job. You care about how your client is going to be at the end of the day when you provided the service that you said you were going to provide. You can see it in their eyes. And when I talk to these people and these brands, they have that glazed look in their eyes like, I'm not even sure if I'm going to be here. Like the amount of turnover in the marketing divisions of every single construction company that's out there that's providing products or service to us, you can see it in their eyes that they're not even sure they're going to be here. And then when I start talking to one person a year later, I try to follow up and you get this generic email going, oh, I'm so-and-so is no longer there. They've moved on. And you know what they moved on to? Another company that's in the same industry, just a better paid position. That's all it is, right? They just don't care about longevity. They don't care about the workforce and how they're going to be old people. They just don't care. And that's what bothers me when I look at it. I'm like, you guys really don't care, but I've been doing this show for 7 years and I truly care. I've got a few more years to do this show and then I want to move on to something else. That's still going to be construction related. Everything that I'm doing, anything that I'm working on, creatively speaking, is still construction relevant. because I still care about the industry.
Yeah.
I want to come back quickly to, you mentioned, you touched on, development charges and, just we all know the corruption in that regard, but looking at it from maybe a hopeful lens, right? Like I'm sure Vaughan, I believe, was the first city or municipality to reduce their development charges, which is good. Remains in place till 2029. So development charges for a typical low-rise single or semi-detached home drop from 94 to 50,000, a difference of 44. So when you see something like, and I think Mississauga
Promising.
is promising or whatever. But so when you see stuff like this, how do you look at this? Do you look at it from like a hopeful lens, or is it just smoke and mirrors?
At first, you think of it as just another soundbite. I want to see it actually happen on a project, right? Like I've spoken to many developers that have just basically said, I'm sorry, I'm going to keep it dirt. Because the moment I start digging, you guys are going to start charging me these insane fees that I have to carry, right? If you think that, okay, so we go back to COVID years. You had a lot of young trades decide, I'm ready to step up. I'm going to be a developer now. I'm going to start playing the big shot, right? And then they started getting buildings, right? So then they were able to secure a building when we were at the height, right? The problem is that they paid X amount for it, and then all of a sudden the economy turned. And now all these hotshots are lowering, they're sacrificing their profit because they have to offload it, otherwise they lose a lot of money. So what happens is this industry, this economy right now is not going to change until 27 because the wealthy, the ones that have struggled through previous recessions, they saw this coming and they prepared for it. So basically it's just this huge garage sale going on right now. So to see Vaughan do that, that's great. Other municipalities, if they do that, that's great. I want to start seeing it implement. I don't want to see it benefiting the guys that are coming along and gobbling up all these properties, because all it means is that they're going to profit more.
But I
That's
don't
all it
think,
is, right?
I truly don't think it's enough. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. I wonder how you guys think about it. But okay, you can
We're at
lower
a 30% development rate on an average.
Yeah, but
One
it's
third.
not I know, but it's not even that. So you have the 30% development fees, but then what about the taxes on whatever it is that you're gaining, right? So you're putting your balls on the line. You know what I mean? You're investing the money, right? You're going to the banks, you're putting up all this collateral. God forbid something doesn't go right. And obviously we've seen lots of condos, especially, that have gone into receivership. I think we touched base on this, Kosta, on one of our episodes earlier, that I think this is the all-time high this year of condos going into receivership.
Yeah.
So I think it's not enough just to cut development fees. I think the government has to step up and stop, fucking gouging us. It's like, the taxes are always going up. You know what I mean? Capital
Peter
gains.
Paul.
That's
Paul.
that's
Tell
what
me
I mean.
about one government program that stopped collecting money.
Yeah,
It doesn't. Once you start collecting money, you continue collecting money.
Yeah, and how do you kickstart something back up again? In order to kickstart something back up, you have to give grace, right? Because look, okay, you want 50% capital gains. Well, guess what? The way the market is, how it's, nobody's really investing right now. Everybody's scared. Who's going to take out the money? Who's going to do that? So what are you going to get out of these capital gains? Aren't you better to just say, okay, you know what? We're going to give tax breaks. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Like you got to give the people the incentive to want to get back in, because the reality is that sure, a lot of people are going to say, well, the wealthy bought, that piece of land. Yeah, but that wealthy person that bought that piece of land to go develop it, guess what? They're the ones that are also giving out the contracts. So you know what, if there's not enough incentives, you know what I mean? Just like we talked about the workforce, there's a big picture here that everybody has to see, right? Everybody keeps going after the rich. And I understand, right? It's that common thing, like, oh, they've made money, they're the ones, we're in bad times, they should pay more of this, they should pay more of that. No, technically those developers are the ones giving out the contracts, right? So if they're giving out the contracts, they're the ones that need the initial incentive, right? To say, you know what, we're going to make this deal sweet for you, because the more of these that you kick off, the more projects, the more contracts, the more they will essentially in the end collect in taxes, right? Just off payroll taxes, this, that, and the other thing. And it will start to kickstart our economy because look, construction is the heartbeat of Canada. Let's not mistake that. So to put a strain on us and not to give incentives to build more homes, to get the condo market corrected, to get these things into development. I don't like again, and I agree with you. I think 27 is the turning point. But man, if something doesn't happen now, Manny, like we're at the end of 25 almost.
So,
You
Manny,
know?
Manny, let me ask you this, because you said you think it'll start to get better in 2027, right? Do you think, because obviously it's not in the government's best interest to have nobody building anything, because then they're collecting $0, right? So do you think there's going to be a correction where they just see how, like nothing is moving at all? Like it's just going to come to a complete
No,
stop?
it won't.
So,
It won't, because it's funny that you just said that it's not in the best interest of the government. Tell me one government in Western society that does anything that's in the best interest of the people.
no, and I don't disagree with that. One thing you said before that caught my attention is you said when we asked like, how have you been? What are you up to? You said that I'm just kind of watching my own ass. I'm taking care of myself, right? And I feel like all of us are in that boat.
Everybody.
But what that tells you is that like that you're kind of in a state of like Canada's in a state of self-preservation where everybody's just like
We're survival.
we're in survival mode.
No. So 99% of the population is in survival mode.
Yeah.
What's interesting is that I bet you guys have had a lot of shows, or you guys have had a lot of conversations on and off the job site in the office that has been somehow referenced or connected to how much we pay in taxes. I bet you any money. Every Canadian tradesperson out there discusses how much we pay in bullshit taxes on everything that you buy smokes, you buy gas, you buy groceries, you buy $8 for a dozen eggs. Like it's just whatever it is, taxes, right? You know what 1% of the population is not griveling it, like what they're doing? They're not arguing about taxes. You know why? Because the majority of those people don't pay Canadian taxes. Their companies are not located here in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you would hear from them. They're like, this is ridiculous. The Liberal government is charging my corporation X amount. I have to write a check for this corporation that's this amount. They never complain about it because they're not paying it. But the 99% of the workforce is paying it. You can't, with CRA right now, CRA is doing what? They're going after every small business owner. We have, what is it, twice or three times the amount of CRA agents compared to the IRS agents, and then we're 10 times smaller than the US? Why do we have a tax workforce that's 3 or 4 times larger than the US, and the US is 10 times larger than us? Why is that? Because they're only all like, you talk to all your business owners, all your small mom and pop construction business owners. They're constantly HST audit. They're going to, like, it's just audit after audit. You go after the small fish, but you never hear about the big corporations complaining. Why am I being audited again? Why am I being audited again? Well, because your company's offshore, including RPM. So it's unfortunate that you got a country here, and I see the banter back and forth with Alberta and natural resources, and there's no case in liquefied gas and all this other crap. I see all this shit. What I really see is the objective of this current government is to broker a deal where all of our natural resources are going to get sold off to a corporation outside of Canada and
So
not
what do you think?
benefit us.
What do you think it? So what specifically is it that's going to turn things around in 2027, in your opinion?
In 27?
Yeah.
Because we're going to be at the cusp of a new election. And you're going to have that hopeful light the same way that we had that hopeful light on the last election. But then, you've got a marketing machine and a manipulation machine that did what they did, and they got what they got.
But that's my point. Like, if you're relying on an election, I think most people were convinced, nearing the end of this one, that things were going to switch over. Things were going to change for the better.
And look what happened.
And look what happened. So what makes you
Everyone
think in
except for
2020?
me.
Yeah.
Well, that's what's going to happen.
In 2027, that it's going to change this time.
So you're going to get a new election. You're going to get the promise that it will be a new leadership there. You'll get and then all that's going to happen is you're going to get the reduction of the carbon tax. You're going to get minor fucking changes. That's all you're going to get. Canada is still going to be on a downward spiral. It's as simple as that. Until you basically get rid of foreign workers, you get rid of immigration, you get rid of all the bullshit, the crime, you get rid of all the taxes that we're paying, until you start benefiting the small business owners, until small business owners are given bailouts the same way that big corporations are given bailouts, like you're not going to change anything. So it's like, that's why I go back to the beginning where we were talking about there's two roads of thought right now. You either leave or you try to fight this. If you try to fight this, like you guys know this, our government right now is trying to implement that you cannot pay for anything $10,000 cash. You will get flagged and then questioned. What do you think follows flagged and questioned? Freezing accounts.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
look
where
at
Canada's at right now.
Arrest, jail time.
well,
Yeah,
look.
no. Go ahead, man.
I was just gonna say, well, look at the UK. What was that? That
200 pounds, right?
well,
Withdrawal.
no, well, even that comedian, he did a couple of funny tweets, and he literally landed back in the UK, and he's from the UK, and he was arrested right at the airport. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, I don't know what road
There's a trifecta, right? When it comes to the UK and Australia and Canada, all you got to look at British monarchy.
Yeah.
Simple as that,
Yeah.
right?
You touched on something that I think is really important, because obviously it's like we're not the type of people that have ever relied on an election to kind of change our lives around, right? As business owners, entrepreneurs, it's not something that's even in my mind. So we kind of plan for worst case scenario. And at the beginning you said, I really recommend you, bang on, I'm just paraphrasing, but essentially, build your contact list, bang on doors, partner with people. And that's something that we've talked about countless times on our podcast, right? Don't rely on laws changing and different governments coming in to kind of save your business, right? Rely on your set of skills, your experience, and your acquaintances, your business partners, whoever you have at your disposal to kind of secure work for the future, right? This is not.
But you guys are in survival mode, right? Like most people.
But I do agree with you that we are in a state of self-preservation. This is survival now, right? So to me, what follows preservation? We're nearing the end of the cycle. It's only going to keep getting worse and worse and worse. You don't get to a point where you're in survival mode and things all of a sudden just turn around and get better, right? Especially with the amount of control that these governments have. They're not going to give up. They might, take 5 steps forward, and when they do take steps back, it's going to be only 1 or 2. And then it's going to be another 5 steps ahead, right? So I think that that's really important that you said that. You have to really, rely on yourself and your set of skills to make things happen for you in the future. And if not, then maybe it's time to leave.
Hey, listen, it's tough. It's easy for a person like myself because I don't have kids and I don't have a wife. And my parents, my dad's gone, but my mom's close. And so it's like, it's easy for me to go, if I'm going to leave, I'm going to leave. A lot of you guys that are much younger, you guys are already established because you realize Canada is a great place. It was at some point a great place to be building a family and building a business and growing from there. But at some point, and you guys know this as contractors, as tradespeople, you can only keep doing something that's not giving you the full effect of what you expect to get out of it before you realize something else has got to happen. Whether that means that I fold up shop and I move to another country, we don't know. Right now, is the U.S. better? I know a lot of guys are going down to South. They're going to Florida, Texas. They're handling that. But is it much better there? We're not exactly sure. And is your family going to be happy there? We're not exactly sure. Are the elderly parents going to stay here? Are they going to go? We don't know. There's a lot of factors involved in here, right? You try to uprise, you're going to get this truckers convoy mentality, right? And that's what it really needs, is that people need to start speaking out. But I've had, Liam Burra, he was on the show, and I respect him quite a bit. And it's all by design, where it's like almost, I went on social media every so often just to check out what's going on. And I'm like, holy shit, it's still all the exact same shit. There is like classic magician distraction bullshit. When something's not going on, they just give you something else to go on. What happened recently right now? There was a bombing in Qatar. You know what I mean? But meanwhile, you got Bansky. You got the artist putting that fucking the painting on the side of the parliament there in the UK, and now they're trying to wash it off. Right? It's just like there is so much distraction. In Canada, it's the same way. You've got all the protests going on. You've got politicians there. You've got conservatives talking about how we need to get rid of the foreign workers, and then you got the liberals saying no, we're not going to get rid of it. It's just like a bombardment of like just confuse the shit out of everybody. I've said that Canadians are going to have enough the moment that they implement the primary residence tax bill. The moment they do that, then all the boomers, all the stupid elbows up idiots that voted the last time are going to realize our nest egg just got blown in the wind, because it's going to affect their nest egg now, right? We pay way too much tax, and for people to accept the amount of tax that is being paid in construction, we're at an advantage. You know what I mean? When you run your own business, we can dictate on how much goes through the books. We can. And we have clients that do that. We have that opportunity. It's no different than a bar, and you're paying cash to buy a drink or something like that. You're paying tips and all this. The government doesn't know exactly what the number is. They can just make an assumption and shit like that. But do you want to be a target now at that point? So you got to be careful when you're doing that. So that's why I tell guys, just be careful about everything you're doing, but understand that you're surviving, but at some point you got into this industry to thrive.
Yeah,
And
but
if you're
Yeah,
not
it's the only way to
thriving,
get ahead in this country is like you said, to really have your own business, and hopefully it's making enough money where you can dictate what goes through. But you know, capitalism, free markets, it's a game of incentives, right? And I feel like it's one thing to fight for something on, like, you know, social issues and whatever, but like once it starts impacting your pocketbook and the money, there comes to a point where there's no economic incentive to continue on here. Like it just gets to a point where like it just does not make economic sense. And if you just continue on it, like you're destroying yourself, you know?
then I go back
And
to the young workforce where they look at it going, there's no way I'm going to be in this industry for 30 years. If it's going to be like this, I'm not in this industry for 30 years.
yeah,
yeah, and there's too many things working against you, like you said, the CRA, and it's so unfortunate because, you know, it's like businesses, like Johny said, these are the small businesses in general, not only construction, but predominantly construction, but all small businesses. They're the engines of the economy, right?
Yeah.
We keep the economy running by hiring people, keeping people employed, paying taxes. And but what you have with the CRA is like they act as bullies against the same people that are feeding them. So instead of working with these small businesses, they're working against them. Like they're almost at like a competition with each other. And I think like I can't see this ever happening unless, you know, Manny, someone like you gets in there. But, you know, something I think if you're a business making under like a million, 2 million in revenue, you can't get audited. Like you shouldn't get audited as long as you're paying your taxes. Like leave us alone. Let us go and grow. Like that'll be very beneficial to Canada as a
But it'll
whole.
never happen though, right? Because we're the
Yeah,
easiest
no
fish
kidding.
to prey on, right? I remember years ago, what I love about having conversations with tradespeople and just generally like blue collar people, when they speak and they want to contribute to a conversation, they actually bring up great ideas. And that's why I have a lot of respect for them, right? So they think about ideas. They're not just status quo and I'm going to share my opinion that's just a regurgitation of what everybody else is saying. No, they start thinking about new ideas. And I remember a few years ago there was an idea that was floating and we were having a conversation and then it just sparked the whole group. And we thought, you know what? Why doesn't the construction industry go on strike? The whole construction industry just go on strike for like a week, just to prove to the powers that be how much construction is and how important it is to every single country, right? And then it was just lining up with Labor Day. It was just, this was happening, the conversation was happening, I think in July or early August or something like that. And I said, let's do it Labor Day. Let's do it that week, that first week, so then all the parents can go to school, drop their kids off, have that week, and not go to work, right? And then we started talking about logistics and how this would work. We were going to use social media, all this other shit. And then I just said one word that just killed the whole idea. You got to remember, this is years ago when we were at the height of, you know, things were doing well. I said one word and it just killed everything. And all I said was union. If you do not get the union to support this, this will never happen. And they all agreed. Everybody just said, you're totally right. So the union was never going to support it. Would the union support it now? My whole objective was when I got into construction in the first house I built, I wanted to prove something because I didn't want to build it as per OBC, bare minimum shit, right? I wanted to build it better. So then I thought, you know what would be a great experiment? And I pitched this to the government and I got shut down. I wanted to take two subdivision homes. I wanted to buy both of them exactly the same And then what I wanted to do was I wanted to read what that house is, one of them, and then take the second house and fully gut it and rebuild it the way it should be built. And then prove how much better it is regarding efficiency, energy consumption, all that shit. They're identical dwellings, but they were built differently. I wanted to prove that this can be done because they all talk about, oh, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to implement this and all this other shit. And I said, everything that's been implemented by a suit that's never been on a job site has a dollar value behind it, i.e. the heat recovery stack, i.e. spray insulation, i.e. the insulation on the exterior now, all these windows now, all this bullshit. It all has a dollar value behind it, right? So it's like, I rather listen to people that are on the job site that are going to tell me how this is, how it should be. So when you start understanding that there's dollar values and people are making money as a result of this, then you don't want to rock that boat. So I wanted to prove to the government that if you don't think blue collar construction workers are all that important and that we're basically the back of this country, this nation, then I want to shut it down for a week and I want to prove to you that they are. They'll never allow you to do that, right? The union would force every single worker to go back to work. Otherwise, they would be fined, which means that they lose money now on top of the money that they're losing by not going to work, right? But it would be a great experiment, and I guarantee you that it would prove what I'm talking about.
I think a lot of the things that we're talking about, I think it just comes down to the people that are at power, right? And again, even I guess including the unions, it's when you actually try to stand up and make a change, right? Like again, when you're getting into these meetings with these, bureaucrats and, they're the gatekeepers of, the labor force and everything like that. And they don't know what they're talking about. Or they don't understand what it's like on site, or they don't understand what it's like to feed a family off of a construction, let's just say, salary, or what kind of lifestyle it is. And the only thing I can say, and from what I'm gathering, is that basically the people that should be in charge are not in charge. You know what I mean? If
you go back to being a villain, dude, like you
Yeah.
just like, I wouldn't want to be the one that's being told, Manny, you need to shut up. Don't say that. I go, but that's the truth, right? Like, there was a post recently. So everyone knows that I don't like skills trades college. I don't like the product that they offer. I don't like anything that they're doing when it comes to the construction industry. I respect what he's doing because he's making a shitload of money. Right? So from my calculation, 22 million per month, right? So he's bringing in a bunch of kids that are coming into the workforce. He's training them for 3 months. He's training them shit, right? But he's taking 14 grand from them. And then he's a smart business person where he's now in bed with the government. The government now is subsidizing that tuition now, up to 80% or some crap like that. I don't know what it is exactly, right? But recently he also partnered with Rona. So now Rona is sponsoring their home renovation program. I've been to that school. I saw the kids. I saw what he was doing. I paid attention to what the course is all about. And I've known people that have instructed there. And I'm like, this is all garbage. When it comes to the construction industry, as a business model and to make money and provide for yourself, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing, right? But then I see this post, someone shares it with me on LinkedIn. Rona's really proud to be a sponsor on this renovation program. And then someone responded saying, we're really excited to be partners with Rona, a true Canadian brand, supportive of the Canadian industry, all this Canadian crap, right? And I couldn't let it go. I had to leave a comment, and I basically know this for a fact, that you guys have not been Canadian since 2016 when Lowe's came in here and bought you guys out. And then they turned it around into the ground, treated it like shit. They bought it for $4.5 billion, and then they sold it for $400 million to a venture capital company out of New York. So now they own it, right? Sure, they have a lot of Canadian workers that are working in Rona stores, but it is not a Canadian brand. It's not Canadian money that's being made there. It's not. It's U.S. money. So then I had to correct that, and all of a sudden people started paying attention to it, and I was waiting for them to fucking change it or even block me. They didn't. But what they did do was change the Canadian output. They got rid of the Canadian owned and operated bullshit. Because they had to. Because here I am speaking the truth, But instead of deleting my comment, we just edited their fucking post, right? And my comment's still there. I checked it recently, and I was like, this is the problem that I have, is that the soundbite went out. Everybody jumped on the wagon going, yeah, support Canada, support Canadian, all this other crap. And I'm like, Rona's not Canadian, man, guys. It's American dollars.
Yeah, smoke and mirrors, man.
Yeah, and this is why we need guys like you in the industry, Manny. Truthfully, man. And that's why
But it doesn't make me friends, right? When it comes to trying to build my own business.
Well,
Man, if you're running the election in 2027, then we might have a shot.
I've joked over and over, man. Like, I don't want my car to blow up. I don't want to have to wear Kevlar. I don't want any of that shit. I don't need a knock on the door by some stranger. I don't need any of that shit, right? I don't.
It all comes to this, right? Like when you look at, I was trying to find the chart. I saw it not too long ago, but I think in the last year, there's two industries in Canada, I believe, that saw the number of workers grow. And I'm sure you can guess it's government, public,
Of course,
public workers.
Yeah, we know that for a fact. Yeah.
When you look at like all of these mouths that are being fed and have been fed in the system for decades on decades, you know, to strip that away, saying an uphill battle is like an understatement, right? And I like looking at numbers, right? And it's like, look, the cost of building a new home in major cities is 20 to 30% of the cost of a new home is all development charges, taxes, fees, permits.
Pay the salaries of government workers.
Exactly.
That's all
and I think this is, so when you combine this with, you know, the fact that our financial system is in collapse, our dollars that we work so hard for are getting diluted every single day. Those people are still getting paid. Their salaries are increasing every single year to keep up with this. We're not, but now we have to continue paying these people, right? And it's I don't know, I don't even know what else to say or like how this
I'm glad that you brought that up,
the castle just coming down completely.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up, but I want also people to understand that it's not the insane amount of extra government workers that have come in ever since the Liberals have come into power, where they just purposely did that. They kept on adding more people into the workforce on the government side. What you also have to factor in is that for every one person that has been hired as a result of a useless job and useless services, that now they're crying about having to go back to work because they've been doing it all from home, where you know that they weren't doing an 8-hour day to begin with. I have yet to meet a contractor who doesn't do an 8-hour day. They do an 8-hour day because you get paid for every hour that you do, right? But then when it comes to government workers, they're barely getting an hour or two. Now they go home and then they barely get a half hour of work that they're actually doing. It's not the one individual that got hired. It's that circle of that fucking one individual. They tell their significant other, they tell their kids parents at soccer, hockey, whatever it is. They're the mouthpiece now. They start doing the Alex Hormozy thing where it's like you get one and that one will tell 20. And now you get 20 people voting Liberal because of that one person. Now you multiply it to the amount of workforce that's out there that is reliant on Liberal money, which is all taxpayer. Are we over 2 trillion now? We're over 2 trillion now, I think, with our debt. And the Liberals are directly responsible for 1.5 trillion of that debt in 11 years versus the 100 plus years before that. And nobody is putting their hand up going, this is bullshit. Right now, France is freaking out because they're what? 3.7 trillion euros? And they're going to go bankrupt? They're the ones that committed that. They're the ones that did it. And Canada's doing the exact same thing. So at what point are you going to look at it and you're going, well, my tax refund is half of what it used to be 5 years ago. And then what is it going to be 5 years from now? Like at what point are you going to start standing up going, this is bullshit? Or do we all just become human nature and lazy and we wish for these lazy jobs?
Oh, and speaking on that, I don't know if you saw like 5 days ago, the union files dispute over Ontario government policy requiring workers back in office.
Yeah, I briefly saw that. So now they're disputing having to go back to work to pretend to do an 8-hour shift.
Yeah.
Like I swear our film and TV community should be massive with the amount of actors that are there. It's insane. You just got to put a camera on. Like nobody wants to see this shit. But then you get blue collar workers that if I don't go to work, I don't make money. I can't provide for my kids, my family, my people that are around me. Like the same way they look at their 20 people that are going to vote liberal the next time. We're looking at the 20 people that we're trying to provide for. We're trying to survive for.
Yeah,
It's pretty scary. I know, I get it.
it is.
Charlie,
It
you're on
really is.
mute.
Right here,
Charlie.
sorry. If you had, Manny, if you had anything positive to say, obviously we don't want to, we're going to wrap up soon. We don't want to end this on a doom and gloom note. What's something positive that you could tell the listeners?
I would just like, and I think this is happening to begin with, is check the fucking ego at the decade. Just get rid of the ego and understand that there's plenty of value out there if you look at your own inner circle of tradespeople and figure out how you guys can work together instead of work against. Because it really is, we are David and they are Goliath, right? And if you just keep on complaining about Goliath, you're never going to beat him, right? So then if you can work together and get as many Davids as possible and have the same mindset. Like I recently had a conversation with somebody, and it was an individual that kept on complaining about the same fucking thing over and over and over. And it was driving me fucking nuts. Maybe I'm at a certain point in my age right now where, okay, sure, something shit happened. It didn't work. And we discussed it. And then we figured out what the cause and effect of that was. Great. Move on, work on it, and figure out the next step. But this person kept on bringing it up over and over and over. And I said to him, listen, either you shut the fuck up about this and figure out about problem solving it, or I never want to fucking talk to you again. I'm not talking to him now.
Manny, as
So
a guy, like Johny mentioned, you built such a strong community, right? What would you tell the average Joe listening to this? Like, how do we continue to build on what you started, right? Because a lot of guys out there, like, they listen to this and they especially us coming to your 750th episode, it was incredible seeing what you've built. But I don't feel like the average person knows how to do that or even knows where to start, whether you're an employee.
But they don't need to know. They just need to know the people that they need to speak to. So it's kind of like, it's funny you bring this up, and I was just like thinking to myself, part of the meetings, I had one meeting with one stakeholder, and all of a sudden they started doing the whole spiel again all over, and I just said, listen guys, you're missing the potential boat of these young people that you're trying to get into construction. I don't want to tell every single young person to get into construction to swing a hammer. I want to tell every single young person to get into construction to understand that hammer. And what I mean by that is, what can you develop? Whether that's a new tool or a new software or a new widget or a new whatever that contributes to a better construction industry, you might be that person that does that. I still want to encourage you to be on the job site for at least a year or two so you can get an understanding of the workforce and how we all come about what we do. But I want you to figure out, how can I build a better mousetrap? And if you can come up with a better mousetrap for some small detail, and you get one person doing that, and you get 1,000 people doing that, that starts to improve the construction industry, in my opinion. And then they're not in the ditches, they're not doing that, but they're contributing to it, right? That's what I keep on telling, that there's opportunity everywhere. But the problem is that our government paints a utopia version of construction. They never tell them the truth of what construction is really about. But they're also not encouraging this young generation to get into construction and understand that there's so many different levels of construction that they could be a part of that can contribute to be building much better things, man. That's where I think Canada has an opportunity.
I want to quickly add to this, because you mentioned this a couple of times about, the suggestions you have, like collaboration and all this in construction. And it's funny, we talk about this a lot, especially with Johny and Charlie now, like in the software business, in compared to what they're used to. And one thing that, and I'll let you guys talk on this, but one thing you guys noticed very early on was that in software, in the software internet space, a lot of companies are very open to collaborate, like very proactively. They work together. Like, how can we work together? How can we leverage our audiences? Like, this is just a very normal thing in software. And this is when Johny and Charlie observed this. This was like very new to them. They're like, wow, like this does not happen in construction. So it's like, why is that? Why do you think that is? Is it like ego, dinosaur mentality?
No, it's fear of monetary. It's fear of monetary. They're just afraid that, and that happens in the film business. It happens in a lot of industries. Everybody wants to help out everybody in the beginning because they're not a threat. The moment that they smell that they're a threat, that they're going to take income from me, then they don't want to help you anymore. And they want to try to actually help you fail as a result of it. And I think that's the wrong mindset. I think we're going to get a lot further if you start helping a bunch of people. I'm sure there's a
Absolutely.
lot of people I could reach out to you guys, and there's a lot of people that I could reach out going, listen, I want to do this. It could be whatever. Doesn't matter what it is. And they'll be like, if they think it's a good idea, they'll be supportive and they'll do it. They'll understand it that I'm not doing it for the sake of it's going to make me a shitload of money. I'm doing it because it's going to actually contribute to the construction industry. That's what I care about, right?
Well,
So it's just if you have that
that's
mindset, it'll help.
That's exactly why we actually started Jobtable, to be honest with
Yeah,
you, right? It
yeah.
was for the same reason. But just to touch base on like what Costa was saying as well, and to tie it into you too, Manny, it's like this is why we need guys like you in the industry, right? Because what you said is very true, and what Costa was saying as well. It was such an eye opener when we got into the software and talking to these big companies and even guys like on the same wavelength as we were, and everybody's willing to collaborate. And, obviously owning and operating my own plumbing company now, for 16 years, we never had that. And I just noticed such a difference when you do collaborate, because when you collaborate, it's a bunch of smart minds coming together to just say, okay, how do we better our industry? You know what I mean? How do we get more people into the industry? How do we get more people to understand, right, that if this is the way we are doing things, this is where our industry is lacking, and this is what we all need collectively to do to bring it up to a better level, right, for the future. Because the problem is that people are very short-sighted. They look at today, they look at tomorrow, they look at their own pockets. I understand that, right? Every man for themselves. But at the same time, it's like, all right, then what do you think your kids are going to go through? What do you think your kids' kids are going to go through? What do you think, you know what I mean, future generations are going to go through? And the only way to do that is to collaborate, right? To have a community of people. And this is where, again, Manny, I want to, tip my cap to you and just say the community that you've built in the construction industry, and especially that 750th show. Look, I think we can all put our politics at the side. I think that walking in there and seeing that many people, that many different walks of life, look, you can tell that it doesn't matter if you were a liberal, if you were a conservative, if you were
Yeah.
NDP, they were all in that room. But you know what they were all in that room doing? It was a community that straight up you built, okay? You've put it together, and
I
and
had a
every
hand in it.
well, okay,
Yeah.
you had a hand in it, but everybody was there because of you. Let's be
Yeah.
honest, okay?
Yeah.
You brought those people together. And you could tell that people were on every side of the aisle when it comes to their political beliefs, but at the same time everybody was there for the common goal, where it's like, look, we're a construction community, you know what I mean? We should get together a lot more. We should talk about what's going on. We should talk about fixing this, so that unfortunately when you go and sit down with these bureaucrats again, you know what I mean? It's not just, okay, throw Manny into the wolves, right? And you get there and it's like, really? This is who we have? We need louder voices. And the only way to get there is to have a bigger community of it. Because again, like you said with the truckers, yeah, they were demonized, they were this, they were that. But if you went there and you saw, right, it was like, holy shit, man, there is
The
so many,
collaboration.
the
Yeah.
collaboration and how many people were there to prove a point. You know what I mean? That's what you need, right? You need it, like again, like we've been talking about this whole show. Look at what's going on in Canada. Look at what's going on with the construction industry. Look what's going on with the condo market, this, that, and the other thing. And, the only people that can really sit here and talk about it, sure, you can crunch numbers, you could do this, you could have a PhD in this, you could have went to university for that, but it's like, why don't you listen to the people that see it unfolding in front of their eyes, because they work in the industry? You know what I mean? We see it. Why don't you listen to us? Right? And
That's the
again,
one thing that I have a problem with. They don't do that, right? And Charlie, you asked me earlier about, what's the one thing that we can do to actually improve the industry? And I think my true answer to that is that the industry has the potential to actually improve Canada. The construction, blue collar, truckers, small business owners, they are the ones that can turn this country into a much better country, because they are the ones that did make this country the way that we remembered it being, right? So it's like right now, they're not the ones. Everyone's in survival mode, right? We need to be in thriving mode. We need to step up and realize that we deliver shit, we build shit, we do things, we provide service, we provide product, we're the ones that are going to make this work. We have to be the ones.
like
I don't know any other group.
And like Kosta said, the software community is such an open and welcoming community, and I've always felt that the construction industry is the opposite, and maybe that's the answer is within ourselves to be more.
That's why I was saying, check the ego at the decade, right? Get rid of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and this is where, Manny, I'm gonna say I can't wait for you to start up the show again. We've missed you, man. I think the whole community has missed you.
Thanks, man.
And truthfully, man, it's guys like you that bring these people together for a lot of people to speak openly about it, right? Because you can tell a lot of people are thinking like us. A lot of people know what we're talking about, but a lot of people are silent, right? So you've given a lot of people this platform. So again, I know you said you're gonna hopefully kick it back up again, and
Yeah, what's the date on? I don't know. It's going to happen soon. I just figure the 15th, September 15th, right? So I'm planning on to be on there, right? And I'll leave it with you guys. I mean, I came across a quote recently, which I thought was kind of fitting, where embarrassment is an underused emotion. Basically mean don't be afraid to fucking speak up. Don't be afraid to just be there. Don't be afraid. It's like, don't be a dick and don't contribute though. Be a part of it. That's how TCL started. That's how I was on the first house that I built, and I was around people that had years on top of me, more experience than me, had a lot of respect for them. That's how I learned, because I asked them questions, man. So don't be afraid to just be embarrassed, man. That's it.
That's a great quote.
Ask.
I like that.
That's a great quote. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not mine, man. I heard it and I was like, yeah, that fucking is fitting. I think more and more people just check the ego. Don't be afraid to use embarrassment, and then start reaching out to people and start talking to them and seeing how can we work? How can we improve? How can we, over and over, not just me. I think the days of me, that's the government. Let them keep on doing that shit, and the we will beat the me's every fucking time. Every time.
Well said.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
I have one last question for you, Manny, before we wrap up. What year can we expect Manny Neves to be on a political ticket here and start making some changes?
Never, dude. never. You know what? This whole meeting thing and getting these, it hasn't been difficult. It hasn't been easy. It's been frustrating. And I think that it will start to open up more doors. And I definitely want to start having, have more conversations with union people. And I just want to basically ask the questions. If they don't get answered, that's an answer in itself, right? But at least if I can strike up the conversation and have that opportunity, that's what I think I've built. That's what you guys are building. And that's what I think the industry needs. I encourage anybody to start a podcast. I encourage anybody to start rattling the cage. I'm not a fan of people just doing it for themselves and just like, okay, how much money can I make off of this shit because I'm basically endorsing this product or something like that. No, if it's contributing to a better industry, then I'm going to encourage it, I'm going to support it, and I'm going to back it. Simple as that. Like, you guys reached out to me, we got talking. Other people have reached out to me, and we had the same conversations. And I was like, I believe in this. I'm going to support it. I'm going to speak highly of it. Simple as that, right?
100%.
So if we buy you the Kevlar and pay for the bulletproof, you're still
headshot. There's a headshot, man. I don't need a headshot, man. No way.
Oh my God. Well, Manny, look, again, before, because Kosta has the great closing statements here. I just wanted to say again, thank you for coming on. It's always a pleasure to be with you. And again, I can't wait till you start back up, and please keep us in mind. We'd love to come back in the studio and hang out, and yeah, thank you so much for giving our listeners, and I know a lot of your listeners hopefully will be listening too, and just a great conversation, great insight, and yeah, again, thank you.
I agree. Yeah, thank you very much, guys. Yeah,
man.
Thank you so much. We'll definitely be in touch.
Awesome. That's it?
That's it. Yeah. I mean, unless you guys have anything else to add, or
no.
Johny, you were mentioning that Kosta does like a wrap up, or you do that afterwards?
No, I think you just
not really. I mean, Johny kind of said it, nothing really else to add, but like, yeah, we look forward. We're glad to have you back here. You're a voice that is well respected, as I said earlier
Thanks.
on, and we look forward to hearing more about your insights and hopefully changing this industry for the better. So
Yeah.
we appreciate you.
One podcast at a time.
That's all it is. Simple as that, right? So we'll see what happens, man.
All right, Manny. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it, man.
guys.
Manny, thank you, brother.
Thank you,
We'll
man.
be in talk.
Enjoy the day, guys. We'll talk
You
soon.
too.
Take care.
You too. Ciao.
Bye-bye.